Welcome in, Tiger fans, to another episode of Bayou Bengal Bites. Where we're breaking down LSU, everything from LSU baseball this weekend. Tigers went 3-1, lone loss to the, I guess we could call them rivals now, Tyler, to the Stony Brook Seawolves. I mean, those guys, they seem to get us back from the Super Regional. I think we played them a couple years ago. They got us in a midweek game, and of course this weekend, and they hit the get the gat, and then we came back and get the gat right back at them and blew them out on Sunday. But how you doing, Tyler? A good weekend at LSU baseball.
Yeah, good weekend. If you're gonna take your loss, your first loss, you might as well do it early. And it was against Stony Brook, who's definitely been your kryptonite. I mean, the series overall is 3 games apiece. So hopefully we don't see them for like 10 to 15 years because I'm tired of seeing Stony Brook coming to Alex Fox Stadium. But nonetheless, it was a good weekend. We're going to talk about how the offense fared throughout this another 4 game weekend and how the bullpen and the starting pitching rotation is going to be. But coming up for the Tigers, you got your first road test on Wednesday night against Rice, and then really this is going to be your first test in Minute Maid Park in the Astros Foundation Classic with Texas, Louisiana Lafayette, and Texas State. So really excited to see if LSU is really going to be tested in that one. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, you got your first ranked matchup of the year, Texas being 15. The polls came out today. LSU is 3, I believe, in all of the polls. The D1 baseball that NCAA posted, they had them at number 3, so we'll go off of that one. But let's talk about the games this weekend. Just a quick recap: the Tigers took down Northern Illinois on Thursday, score of 10-2, and then on Friday was that lone loss of 5-2. I think the final score was. Um, is that right, Tyler? My
Yep.
my iPad's not working here. And then on Saturday they battled Northern Illinois again with another score of 5-2. That one was only a 3-hit contest for the Tigers, and they still eked out a win. And then Sunday, the game that everybody was waiting for, the revenge game, LSU beat Stony Brook 18-10. At one point, they led that game, I believe, 13-1. So they let the Seawolves kind of battle back. They had a big, I want to say it was either fourth or fifth inning. Our relief pitching struggled a little bit, but the bats came alive and got it done for him. So let's look at Friday night. We had Gage jump on the mound to start the game. He only pitched a couple innings, but he looked good. And I think they're not fully comfortable yet with his post Tommy John surgery. He's on a limited pitch count. What'd you see from the youngster, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean they had him on a pitch count, like you mentioned, still coming off of that Tommy John surgery. But throughout his couple of early appearances with LSU, I definitely think he has some impressive stuff. His fastball gets up to 95, and the breaking balls there. So really effective in only 2-3 innings play, and then he handed off to Nate Ackenhausen. I think that's the guy that is really going to be your go-to guy, your first guy that you get out and he ended up getting the win. Gave up that lone home run, but didn't matter because LSU's offense was really firing on cylinders. The wind was blowing out. It was definitely the opposite on Friday and
Finally.
Saturday when the wind was going against you. So that really hurt the offense. But nonetheless, I was really impressed once again with Gage Jump. I think that he's just going to slowly get more and more starts, and we'll see if he's going to be able to compete in that Sunday role. And nonetheless, I do think that he's going to be a viable option coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the offense, much different on Thursday than it was Friday and Saturday. It was a plethora of home runs. You had Josh Pearson hit his first 2 on the season. Tommy White, finally. Tommy Tanks with a home run. Kling with a home run. And Braswell, finally, he's been hitting the ball really hard. It just seems to be hitting the ball right at people really hard. Gotten a little unlucky here, so finally got to see him in a home run. I believe he went 1 for 2, 1 for 3 on the game. And then we saw some relief pitching. Aiden Moffett, he looked very good. Well, not in that game, but in the latter game he did. And then Bucknell, I've been down on him for a while since last season. I forget the game that he came into, but he let up like 14 runs
South
or something.
Carolina when we were down like
Yeah,
11 to nothing.
they just absolutely destroyed him. But he came in, got that save there. Went 2 innings, only let up 1 hit, had 4 Ks. Didn't pitch as well Sunday as he did Thursday, but we're seeing some progress there. So Friday was a tale of offense. Pitching did pretty well. Held a Northern Illinois, I guess that's the Wolf Pack, It's only 2 runs.
Huskies.
Um, the Huskies, it's only 2 runs and only 5 hits. So that's pretty good for the pitching staff there. Friday was another tale when the Seawolves came into town. We just can't figure this team out, Tyler. Stony Brook, like you said, is the kryptonite. I'm not holding too much to it because they came and destroyed them on Sunday. But you saw Thatcher Hurd struggle. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. He did have 8 Ks though, so that's a positive sign. But Tyler, between Hurd and Holman, I mean Holman is starting to look like your bona fide Friday starter. You think maybe it's just taking Hurd a couple weeks to go, or do you think you're going to see Jay Johnson make that switch?
I have no idea what's going on with Thatcher Hurd. Whenever he's on, like his stuff is real, but when he's not on, it could go in. We saw it even in last year's couple of games, like I mentioned on the season preview show, like that Tennessee game, he couldn't even record it out, and you're already down six
Yep.
to nothing. And then in the Mississippi State game, you gave up like 4 runs without recording it out. So I really don't know what's going on. It feels like whenever he gets really into a jam, like Stony Brook was just getting after base hit. He had 8 strikeouts, got it 4 innings, but his ERA right now is a 9. So it's definitely concerning because I'm really just thinking of like the SEC teams you have to face, and on Friday night, you got to win Friday night, in my opinion. Friday nights is always a key victory to get, especially in a 3-game series. So I definitely think that you have every right, if you're an LSU fan, to pose that question of who should be the Friday night starter, because I think that the competition at the start of the season was really clear that I was going to be Thatcher Hurd just because of the experience that he has. But Luke Holman, man, I mean, this man
He is
has been
shoving.
absolutely shoving. I know it's not like the opponents aren't great. I get that, but he's coming in and is doing his job, giving you quality innings. I honestly think that if he wasn't this early in the season, this would have been a complete game because he was rolling. Gave you 7 innings pitched here. So we'll see if Jay Johnson makes the change. I mean, against Texas, personally, I would go with Luke Holman, but I just don't see Jay Johnson giving up on Thatcher Hurd this early. But we got to see Thatcher Hurd throw up some zeros. I mean, you can't give up 5 runs every start because the way that your offense has been playing. This is still a young offense that's still getting it going. We got some transfers that's adjusting to SEC play, some freshmen adjusting to the way that LSU wants to play offense. So I think that this is definitely real. I think at the start of the season, I would have gone with Thatcher Hurd being your Friday night guy. But now, I mean, it's hard not to look at Luke Coleman being your Friday night guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I'm Jay Johnson and you got a big match, you got a ranked matchup coming up on Friday against Texas. I think I'm going with Luke Holman. I know it's a little different because he pitched on Saturday. It's 1 day's less rest. But I think I would feel comfortable trotting Holman out there and to get your guys a win because, like you said, the offense is young and they haven't been. I mean, nobody expected them to be how they were last year. You can see it's taking guys a little bit of time to get started. I mean, against Stony Brook, it would have been 5-0 if it wasn't for a bloop to the center fielder where it was just an error on their end and Paxton Kling was able to push across two runs there. You've seen a guy like Tommy White hit to a lot of double plays. That's not really promising from someone who's you're expecting to hit 30 home runs this season or close to it. One bright spot has been Bear Jones. He's really been the one that's been barreling up the ball, which last year we saw him strike out a lot, being a young freshman, but seems to have made the adjustment. So, talking Saturday's game against Northern Illinois, you saw the Tigers win 5-2, and they only had 3 hits. Chris Blair said it best on the radio call that with the way this Tiger team is constructed, you don't have guys. You have guys that are going to hit it out of the park, but you don't have guys 1 through 9 where each of them could go yard at any given moment. So you're going to have to take professional at bats. You're going to have to force walks, get hit by pitches, which they did a lot of against Northern Illinois. A lot of walks, and it was more of just walking around the bases and getting a timely base hit here and there to score some runs. So with only 3 hits, you score 5 runs. And there was a lot of walks. I'm looking at Kling walked twice, Jones walked twice, Milam, Travinsky, Neal, White, all of them walked on Saturday. So that's what you have to do to get runners on base and make something happen. Going back to Luke Holman on Saturday, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. To me, that's an ace line versus what you've seen from Thatcher Hurd the past 2 weeks. I mean, maybe we saw Hurd move to the bullpen in the middle of the season, and then towards the end, he started a few games for you because he had to. We didn't have anybody else. So you see Johnson maybe putting him back in the bullpen. Maybe he doesn't have his confidence back. He's struggling with something mechanical to just kind of get those reps there. And then you see Holman be a Friday guy. Um, jump if you get his pitch count up, he could potentially slide into a Saturday night. But then you have the guy that pitched Sunday. His name escaped me, old lefty. Uh, it was Mr. Coleman, Javen Coleman. He's looking like your Sunday starter. Maybe he slots into a Saturday role, and then you figure Sunday out because you have a huge depth of pitchers. It's just a matter of who's going to pitch. So, Tyler, I'm with you. I think Holman's going to be should be your ace Friday night against Texas. So get to the last game of the weekend, rematch against Stony Brook. Uh, Johnson, I think, challenged his hitters to get it done because you had a total of 6 hits, 7 hits in 2 games. That's not LSU baseball. And boy, did they respond! 17 hits, 18 runs. We really had Stony Brook shut out pretty well until they actually did like a mass substitution, subbed 8 of their players, and all of a sudden they started scoring runs. They had a 6-run fifth inning. So Tyler, that aside, relief pitching didn't look great. I believe the majority of those runs came off of Bucknam and Christian Little. Um, I understand going back to Bucknam. He pitched great Thursday, but Little, you kind of keep your fingers crossed every time he comes into the game. He hasn't really been able to locate and throw strikes. But Tyler, what you see from the pitcher staff on Sunday in that bounce back game against Stony Brook?
Yeah, I continue to be impressed with Javen Coleman. I think that he's fully healthy. It's been
Mhm.
2 years since he had that Tommy John surgery. I think that he's going to be your Sunday starter. I think that he only got 4 innings, and then last week he only got like 3 or 4 innings as well. So I think that they're starting to slowly ramp him up. But I think that he's got the potential to be your Sunday night role. I mean, last year you were just throwing up a prayer like, are you going to be starting Christian Little? Are you going to be going with Javen Coleman? I think that it would definitely be nice to see, if you're an LSU fan, just somebody take that grasp on that Sunday, that Sunday starting pitching role. You have a ton of options. Maybe you go Gage Jump in Sunday once he has some innings under his belt. I think that they're going to stick with Kate Anderson in the midweek. But man, if he shoves again against Rice, which I presumably think that he's going to be the starting pitcher against the Owls on Wednesday, so I think that you could see him get vaulted up into the Sunday role. Maybe we see Justin Lauer. I know that he's been, inconsistent, but I definitely think that he has the stuff to be a starter. He was a starter at Xavier. He went 6-2, had a 4 ERA there. So I think you got some key quality guys that can give you some starts. But if I had to pin in a guy to be your Sunday starter, it would have to be Javen Coleman.
Yeah, honestly, I'd feel comfortable if you threw him in on Saturday if Hurd can't get his stuff figured out. Um, he looked good. Four innings pitched, 6 Ks. He let up 2 runs, but that came from a home run when they were up 12-0, and the guy hit a deep shot into left field. It was a pretty impressive home
They're
run.
a
Not gonna
scrappy
lie with
bunch,
you.
man. Stony Brook, they
Yeah,
could be down 13-0, and they would find a way to make it a game like they did on Sunday.
exactly. I mean, you saw a triple from Braswell, which that was great to see. Doubles from Milazzo and Travinsky. The catcher's getting some speed in, Tyler. And a home run from Jared Jones. And Milan. Let's talk about Milan for a second. He's your guy that's like he can play second base, shortstop. I mean, I'm sure he could play third base too, but I don't think he's taking Tommy White's positioning. Where do you see him fitting in? Because I feel like from a defensive standpoint, he started at shortstop. Was it this Sunday game or maybe it was the Saturday game? They gave Braswell a day off and they had Milam start. And I think the first 6 outs they were all hit straight to him. So he's certainly not shy of the baseball. Do you see Milam being an everyday starter and maybe Josh Pearson's moved back to the outfield?
I think so. I mean, Josh Pearson, he could definitely make the plays for you in the outfield. And his bat is starting to come along. He didn't really do that great. Maybe it was just coming off of the rest and the long overlay of the off season that it brings. But we saw Josh Pearson get on the board with 2 home runs. I think that Jake Brown, the freshman, is still up in play of being your starters. But I think that Mac Bingham, he's going to be an everyday outfielder.
I think he's
Paxton
a
Kling,
lock.
he's going to be your everyday center fielder just because of his elite speed that he has and the plays that he can make out in the field. And his bat is also starting to come alive. He got a couple of key base hits. I think that he gives you professional at bats, like you mentioned. A lot of walks drawn this week, and a lot of hit by pitches continue. I mean, I thought with Gavin Dugas leaving the program, it would go down a bit, but nope.
No,
Everybody's
it did
still getting
not.
hit. But I definitely think you're starting to your starting outfield rotation come to life. So I think that Stephen Milam, he's pretty much a utility player. I think that if you put him anywhere in the outfield or the infield, he could probably play that position. But I definitely think you can't really give up on Michael Braswell. His offense
I
is
agree.
starting to play, and his defense is elite too. So I would, keep Braswell at your starting shortstop, but with Stephen Milam, I would put him at second base there. I think that his offense, he's going to give you professional at bats after professional at bat, and his glove is definitely there too. You can make the diving plays, the routine plays there. So
You
I
saw
like,
he got vertical, made that.
man,
I
he
mean,
did get hurt.
he's listed as 5'8". Based on the picture we saw of the mound, maybe he's more of a 5'6" character there. But shoot, he jumped like 8 foot in the air and made that
Yeah.
line drive catch. So he's got the reflexes for it.
He definitely got the reflexes there. But I think that early on, we're starting to see some guys really, get their edge on getting those starting roles.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think Braswell is staying at the starting shortstop position based on his defensive capabilities, and you see Milam's got him too. And we'll just see how his offense come along, and if Johnson wants to make the switch. I could see Pearson and Jake Brown maybe rotating a little bit as to who's starting in right field. Because Pearson's bat is too good to not be in the lineup, but then you're looking at Milam, and he's got the speed, he's got the versatility, his bat's is pretty well, he's coming along. So it's not a bad issue to have when you have too many guys that can play. It's just a matter of who fits in. I think Milam's also a switch hitter. If I remember correctly, I think they said that on the broadcast. So you could see him bat lefty or righty depending on the pitching matchup. So, but no, nonetheless, good problem to have. Yeah, we dropped the game to Stony Brook, but they bounced back on Sunday. Really made their presence known. To wrap up a 6-1, right, Tyler? That's the record so far.
I believe so, yeah.
Uh, or
Actually,
I guess
wait, it
we
would be
played
7-1
7-1.
since they
Yeah, we
played
played 8
8
games.
games.
So 7-1 on the season before we travel to Rice, like you mentioned on Wednesday. Don't know a lot about Rice, but I want to get into the Astros Foundation, where LSU plays Texas, Texas State, and Vanderbilt. Unfortunately, LSU fans, it looks like that Friday game against Texas is on the Longhorn Network. Probably going to stream through ESPN Plus, but you have to deal with the Longhorn Network announcers. Pro tip: just mute them, put on the LSU Sports Network, and listen to Chris Blair and the boys call it in the booth. Tyler, what do you know about this Texas Longhorn team? Anything really?
Not really early on. All I know is through 2 series, they have one loss. That one loss is a San Diego, but San Diego team, if you've watched them this past week, they just got a big series victory against Arizona. Arizona is a team that's been struggling early on. They're now 3-5 on the season. Texas, their offense is definitely looking good. They're pitching. You're probably going to see Johnson, their ace.
Mm-hmm.
His first start was against Cal Poly on Friday night. He win 8 innings. We saw him last year
Yep.
in that midweek matchup when that 0-0 game, and it came down to Gavin Dugas hitting that 3-run home run. So I wouldn't doubt if it's another pitching duel. We'll probably see Thatcher Hurd again for LSU. So we'll see if Hurd
Fingers
can
crossed,
pitch
Holman.
well in an MLB ballpark. Just don't give up a home run to left field because that's only 310 down the line. If you're going to give a home run, give it to that alleyway that's like so difficult to hit a home run
Yep.
in. So you're probably going to see Thatcher Hurd versus Johnson. It's definitely going to be probably one of the best pitchers that you're going to face all season. I was very impressed with Johnson. His fastball, I think, gets up to like 97. So those LSU hitters are definitely going to be ready, looking for that fastball early. So I think that Friday night, I think it's going to be another pitching duel between the Longhorns and the Tigers.
I think we'll fare better against the faster pitcher, better quality. As you can see, the past couple weeks, they've struggled against the guys that are throwing like 86, 87, because that's not what they're used to seeing. They're used to seeing these mid 90s fastballs. So I have optimism there. I I think Hurd's probably gonna be the starter. I would like to see Holman be the starter, but I don't think Jay's gonna ditch it just yet. Um, score prediction. Um, Give me that close one, a 4-3 pitchers duel with some late magic by LSU to take that one. Of course, I'm going to pick LSU. I'm not going to pick Texas. And fun fact, you mentioned to me before the show, Alex Milazzo actually does have a home run in his college career, freshman season at Minute Maid Park. So maybe that's some magic that comes back. The eighth inning is typically the Tigers' inning. Maybe we see a Milazzo home run to give us the lead or something. If that happens, I'm going to be ecstatic. Um, but it's I'm interested to see how guys like Tommy White and Bear Jones bounce back against somebody that's throwing gas because that's what they're expected to see. And pitching wise, from a relief standpoint, I would imagine we see Gavin Guidry Friday. We saw him once this weekend. I think it's going to be a switch between Guidry and Mr. Fidel on the other side because I haven't seen them both pitch in a game, but I think both of them have that closer slash stopper role. When shit's hitting the fan, you can throw Gidry or you can throw Fidel in. They're going to come in, throw strikes, and get outs. So I'm interested to see. I think Friday we'll see what Jay Johnson's expecting to be his pitching rotation with a Thatcher Hurd and Ackenhausen, and then either Fidel or Gavin to be that closer. And I think that's going to be your bona fide stars as your pitching battery there. So, Tyler, score prediction for the Texas game.
I'll go 3-2 LSU. I know that LSU they have struggled in these Astros. It used to be called the Shriners College Classic, but
Hmm.
now that has shifted up to Arlington. But in the year, that walk off that Jordan Thompson hit against. I also remember getting no hit against Baylor, and then
Yep,
Texas. We
that was
played
rough.
Texas. I think that the series is even at Minute Maid Park. They took it to us a couple of years ago, and then I think in the 2020 season, I believe LSU got the victory in that game there. So it's always a treat to go to early on. So I think that with the pitching. You're going to see Nate Ackenhausen come in and absolutely shove, and I think that you're probably going to see the same similar pitching scenario that you saw on Thursday. I think that Hurd is probably going to go 4 or 5 innings, and then you're going to hand it off to Nate Ackenhausen. He'll probably go 2 or 3, and then you're going to see the hammer come in with Gavin Guidry, and he's going to slam the door down. So I think that, but with Johnson on the other side, I think that this is going to be a low-scoring game. So give me the
I
Tigers
agree.
to win on Friday night.
So, they play ULL on Saturday or USL, however you want to say it. I'm sure if there's any Lafayette the Cajun fans, we're gonna get them in the comments here. Um, I don't really have a prediction for you. I know they beat us last year when they threw their ace in a midweek game, and then they really screwed their season afterwards because they went on to lose the next three series. If we've got Mr. Holman pitching, sorry, Raging Cajuns, I don't have much faith in you. And then, of course, Texas State on Sunday. Don't really know much about them, so I won't preview it. But I think the one that all the Tiger fans are looking forward to is the Friday night game. And I wouldn't be surprised if that stadium's pretty full between Texas and LSU baseball. Those are two large fan bases that travel well. So, Tyler, uh, I think that's all I've got for our preview and breakdown from this week. We appreciate everybody watching. Hit that subscribe button. Comment who you think should be the starter, their Friday night ace. If you were Coach Jay Johnson, who would you put in that position? And with that, we'll leave everybody with a Go Tigers.